I used to think that love meant sacrifice, that the more I gave, the more I proved my worth as a daughter. My name is Clara Hayes, and for most of my adult life, I was the reliable one, the daughter who paid the bills, sent money home, and never said no. I grew up believing that being a good daughter meant saving everyone else, even if it destroyed me in the process. My family wasn't cruel, at least that's what I used to tell myself. My parents were ordinary people living in Seattle. My dad worked at an auto repair shop. My mom was a homemaker, and my younger sister Rachel was the golden child who could do no wrong. Money was always tight when I was growing up. I learned early that bills and stress were constant companions in our home. I still remember the first time my mom asked me for money. I was 16, working part-time at a coffee shop after school. She told me they were short on rent, and without hesitation, I handed her my entire paycheck. She kissed my forehead and said, "You're my little lifesaver, Clara." I held onto that praise like a medal. From then on, I became the fixer. If there was a problem, I was expected to handle it. If the car broke down, I sent money. If Rachel needed tuition or a new phone, I paid. Every time, my parents told me they'd pay me back someday, but someday never came. When I graduated from college with a degree in accounting, I thought things would finally change. I got a decent job at a small firm in downtown Seattle. For the first time I could breathe, I wanted to travel, maybe move out of state, build something for myself. But that never happened because the calls kept coming. Your father's hours got cut. The fridge broke. Rachel needs help with her car payment. I'd hang up the phone, stare at my bank account, and transfer the money without thinking. I told myself it was just temporary, that one day they'd get back on their feet and I could start living my own life. But years went by and nothing changed. In fact, the more I gave, the more they asked. I never saw where the money went. I never questioned it. I just kept giving until giving was all I knew how to do. Then, one evening in 2021, I met Evan. He was gentle, patient, and had this way of listening that made me feel seen. When he learned about how much I supported my family, he looked concerned. "You're generous," he said, "but do they ever help you?" I laughed it off. "They're my family. I don't expect anything in return." He frowned slightly. "That's not how love should work, Clara." I didn't understand what he meant back then. I do now. Months later, I decided to bring Evan to meet my family. It was my birthday dinner: lasagna, candles, laughter. Everything felt normal until my sister, Rachel, made a comment that changed everything. "I still can't believe you paid for my Mexico trip. You're the best sister ever." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "What trip?" I asked. Rachel blinked. "The one next month. Mom said you sent her the money for it." I turned to my mom. She looked nervous but forced a smile. "Oh, honey, I thought you wouldn't mind. Rachel's been stressed lately. She needed a break." I stared at her, waiting for her to realize how insane that sounded. "You took money from my account for her vacation, without asking." Dad sighed. "Don't make a scene, Clara. It's just a little money." Evan reached under the table to squeeze my hand, but I couldn't move. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. "It's not just money," I whispered. "It's respect." That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying their faces, calm, dismissive, as if I was the problem for caring. For the first time, I started to wonder if they ever saw me as a person or just a paycheck. 2 weeks later, I got an email from my bank about unusual activity. Someone had applied for a personal loan in my name. I hadn't applied for anything. My hands shook as I called the bank. After answering a barrage of security questions, the representative said the words that would shatter me. The loan for $80,000 was already approved 3 days ago. My heart pounded. "That's impossible. I didn't apply for a loan." He explained that the funds had been transferred to a checking account under the name of David Hayes. My father. The world tilted. My vision blurred. It didn't make sense. I hung up and called my mom immediately. She answered on the second ring, cheerful as always. "Hi, sweetie, how are you?" "Mom," I said, my voice trembling, "did you or Dad take out a loan in my name?" There was silence. Then a soft, nervous laugh. "What? Don't be silly. Why would we? Don't lie to me." I snapped. I know where the money went, she sighed. We were going to tell you. It's just, things have been tight. We needed the money for some repairs. We'll pay it back, I promise. $80,000, Mom. You stole $80,000. Don't say it like that, she yelled. We're your parents. We didn't steal it. We borrowed it. Without asking me. She hesitated. You always said you wanted to help. That's when Dad's voice cut in. You're overreacting. We'll figure it out. I felt something inside me snap. No, I said quietly. I'm done figuring it out. You've been using me for years, and now you've committed fraud. Don't threaten us. My dad barked. You wouldn't ruin your own family over money. But I had already hung up. That night, I printed every document, every text, every bank transfer I'd ever made. For the first time in my life, I stopped crying and started thinking. If they saw me as nothing more than a source of money, then I needed to see myself as something else, someone worth protecting. And that was the night I decided to fight back. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Rachel Kim, and she specialized in financial crimes and identity theft. Sitting across from her in that small office, I felt like a criminal confessing my sins. I told her everything: the money transfers, the guilt trips, the forged loan. She listened carefully, taking notes, and when I was done, she said, Clara, what they did isn't just wrong, it's illegal. Hearing that word illegal made me feel sick. I'd spent my life protecting my family, and now I was being told I had to protect myself from them. She explained the steps: file a police report, freeze my credit, and submit all evidence to the bank's fraud department. It sounded so simple, but it felt like tearing my life apart piece by piece. When I got home, I opened the police department's website and started typing my statement. My hands shook the whole time. I stopped twice to cry. It felt like betrayal. But then I remembered the way my father had said you wouldn't ruin your family over money, as if they hadn't already ruined it themselves. So I hit submit. The days that followed were hell. My mom called nonstop, leaving voicemails that swung between crying and screaming. Clara, how could you do this to us? You're going to destroy your father. We needed your help and you turned on us. Evan begged me to block their numbers, and I finally did. It was both the hardest and most freeing thing I'd ever done. Within weeks, the investigation began. The bank confirmed that my digital signature had been forged using a scan of my ID. They froze the loan and forwarded everything to law enforcement. The case was officially being treated as fraud. My parents denied it at first, of course. When investigators contacted them, they claimed I'd authorized everything verbally. But the evidence was clear: emails, timestamps, IP addresses from their house. They were caught. When my lawyer told me charges were being filed, I cried, not out of relief, but grief. Grief for the family I thought I had. My mom sent me one last voicemail before the trial. Her voice was cold, distant. You'll regret this, Clara. Family doesn't turn on each other. She was wrong. Family doesn't steal from each other. Months passed. The case dragged through hearings, paperwork, and endless legal jargon. I barely slept. I lost weight. I cried in the shower so no one would hear. But through all of it, Evan stayed. He never told me what to do. He just reminded me that I wasn't crazy. The day my parents pled guilty, I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. The court ordered restitution and probation instead of jail time. I should have been angry, but I wasn't. I was just tired. After the case closed, I took a week off work. Evan and I drove to the coast. I stood on the beach one evening, watching the waves crash against the rocks, and felt something I hadn't felt in years: quiet. No phone buzzing, no guilt, no one asking for anything, just me. When we got back home, I started therapy. My therapist helped me untangle years of emotional manipulation. She said something that stuck with me. You didn't fail them, Clara. They failed you. For the first time, I believed it. Healing didn't come in a single moment. It came in slow, quiet ways: morning walks, cooking meals for myself, learning to spend money on things that made me happy instead of everyone else. A few months later, I received a handwritten letter from my mother. She said she was sorry that they'd made mistakes and that they missed me. She ended it with, "You're still our daughter. We'll always love you." I read it once, twice, then folded it and placed it in a drawer. I wasn't ready to forgive, and maybe I never would be. Instead of replying, I began volunteering at a local nonprofit that helps victims of financial abuse. I shared my story anonymously. The first time I spoke, my voice shook, but afterward, a woman came up to me crying and said, "I thought I was the only one." That moment changed something in me. I started rebuilding not just my finances, but my identity. I adopted a cat, painted my apartment, and reconnected with friends I'd neglected for years. Slowly, I stopped introducing myself as the girl who was betrayed and started introducing myself as the woman who survived. One afternoon, I got an email from my sister, Rachel. She wrote, "I know what Mom and Dad did was wrong. I should have spoken up. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to respond, so I waited a few days. Then I wrote back, 'I forgive you, but I need time.' 'Maybe one day we can talk,' she replied. 'Thank you.' It wasn't a reunion, but it was a start. Over time, the pain dulled, the anger faded. What remained was something steadier: self-respect. On my 32nd birthday, Evan took me to a small cabin near the ocean. As the sun set, he asked, "Do you feel free now?" I thought about it for a long moment. "I think I'm learning how to be." He smiled. "That's enough." That night, lying in bed, I realized something simple but powerful. My family had stolen $80,000 from me, but they hadn't taken everything. They hadn't taken my courage. They hadn't taken my will to rebuild. They hadn't taken me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't saving anyone else. I was saving myself, and that, I realized, was worth more than all the money in the world.